All right, we are being recorded. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's community call. So for our call today, so here is our quick agenda. So we do, well, again, start from the news of everything from OHDSI, and then we'll have a global kind of symposium recap as that was just last week with everything going on, and it's a 4-day event, so I'm sure everyone enjoyed the whole process. And then last but not least, we will then kind of go to our presentation from Christine on kind of the OHDSI Center at Rogues Institution. So with that, I will share my screen on because for the news for the global symposium recap. So I see I guess everyone on the call is probably was there. So anything you would like to start kind of sharing, like the highlights or things you found interesting during the 4-day event? So I will start with kind of just sharing everything kind of it's already uploaded to, let me share my screen. Everything that is already up there. If you miss anything, because I think so I'm in Shanghai, I'm in Beijing time zone, so kind of just because of the time difference that I unfortunately missed some of the especially kind of the plenary sessions as well as some of the presentation, the live speak and everything. So if you want, everything is already being uploaded to the website. So there is a session for the global symposium. So everything is already here with everything. Because I think for most of Asian time zone, we probably did not really stay till 2 a.m. in the morning for all of the talks, although they are very interesting. But yeah, so that's kind of the time difference. So but everything has been uploaded here, so you can kind of just have a oh, I see, Christine, you're here as well. So everything, so we can kind of do a recap, and if you want to rewatch it again, so everything is already here, well organized, which I think that was a very fast turnaround to have every kind of presentation and deck here available. So one thing I would like to kind of just highlight really quick is so our beloved Mui, who has contributed so much to the APAC community. So she has won the Titan Award for leadership. So very well deserved. And then I think everyone has said congrats. I think definitely a big congratulations to her. So I wouldn't say unfortunately. So she is currently in Hawaii. So, and I'm like, you're gonna pick Hawaii over community call, and she's like, yes. So that's kind of, although she cannot be here today, but definitely a big shout out and congratulations to her of winning the Titan Award again. I think she won like a couple years ago, but this year is for the leadership. Definitely very well received and recognized for her contribution. So that's my quick kind of view, quick kind of recap of everything, kind of where they are if you want to re-watch or kind of or watch it for the first time because of the time differences for all of the global symposium materials. So I see, so anyone else got anything, kind of any highlights or interesting things you want to share about the symposium?
Yeah, for me, we just get a ball rolling, right? So Selva and I have briefly discussed about it. One thing we are always very inspired and impressed from the global symposium is how successful and effective it is for the study-a-thon, performing new ideas and teams. I know we've been planning our APAC symposium. Previously, we didn't include a study-a-thon in APAC as we are just a young baby in the region. I'm not sure, are we ready inviting weigh-ins from Selva and then other leaders in the region, right? Do you think we are ready for APAC to do at least a mini study-a-thon this year or some near future? Yeah. Selva and anyone else, please weigh in if you want to, yeah.
Yeah, that is a very good question because I think as as we're kind of still in a planning stage for the APAC symposium this year, which is actually we have a date and the registration will be open shortly as well. So we have date is November 18th, which is like 8 weeks. We actually calculated by weeks now. We're 8 weeks away from the APAC symposium. And also, I think for this year, we're definitely going to highlight a lot of conversions and everything has been going, because I think conversion is sort of like our theme for this year. From different regions, we're having data being converted into OMOP CDM. And I think now for study song is really kind of the perfect timing that we could initiate during or after. Certainly, I think it's still going to be discussed internally with all the other leaders, but I think now that we are converting or we have already converted several data sets within the region, I think the next step is definitely, like naturally going to be a study song with the converted data together as a region. So that's definitely a good idea, and I think something we would want to do and we would want to announce during the APAC symposium in 8 weeks. And please be lookout, stay tuned for the registration page, which is coming up soon, really soon.
Sounds good.
Cool.
And it was really interesting that we use GatherTown as a kind of a metaverse platform for poster presentations, and it was really I have fun to join the symposium by using GatherTown. So that's why we adopt GatherTown in our OHDSI APAC symposium this year. Yeah, so I think it will be really great and helpful to gather our people, especially like we can gather regionally in that platform, so we can speak in our own languages. So it might be helpful for others to join OHDSI more easily without language barrier. So that was my point. And about the morning's comments. So, I prepared the tutorial in Korea to show how to replicate my study, which was published in the JAMA last year. So in the third round of OHDSI symposium, we try to replicate the Yasser's paper, but so like that, I'm planning to have a tutorial to replicate my study, even though it was not my purpose, but yeah, just some old professor makes me to do that, so I have to.
Okay, yeah.
So just a question about that, like to replicate the study, right, regarding that exercise. So if you're planning to do, then is it like, do we need to find out the data sources which are eligible to do that, so that people can try it all their at each of the sites, or how do we do that? So it's like we need to identify a study which can work across at least from one data source in each region, or how do we do that?
So in my tutorial, we will use the Korean hospitals data, but I do not think that I can replicate that study by using the same identical databases in the papers. So, but I want to show others how to build OHDSI studies. So that's my proposal. So I think we can use the kind of the sample data for that purpose too. Like we can use the CMS, de-identified or sample data for study-a-thon.
Okay.
All right, thank you. So on that note, I think just please let us know if you have any questions or can find any materials related to the global symposium. I'll definitely get that since that's, time difference and everything. So just want to make sure everyone kind of gets to enjoy and have all of the information. Cool. So with that, so Christine, can So I will turn the table or turn everything to you. So would you like to start by sharing your screen? Or
Sure thing.
all right, thank you, Christine.
Yeah. Try to do this so I can like see you guys. Let's see if this works. One second. Alright. You guys, there we go. Whoops. Are we?
So Kristen, we're still having a bit of, beeping noise.
Try to reshare.
Yeah, we can hear you perfectly now.
Slides, can you see them?
Yes.
Okay. It's funny. Everything is completely silent, so it's background noise. I don't know where it's coming from. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Kristen Koska. I'm the director of the OHDSI Center at the Roux Institute at Northeastern University, which we'll talk about in just a minute. I've been a member of the OHDSI community for 7 years now, which feels like an eternity. And I've had many hats. I actually started at IQVIA, and I am also a doctoral student at the University of Oxford under Danny Prieto Alhambra. And what I'm really excited to a community course. So you're asking about study-a-thons and community support. And I'm here to tell you about something that may help make these activities and other initiatives just a bit easier as you are out in your OHDSI journey. And I gave a lightning talk on this, so I will kind of glaze over a few sections quickly. But it's probably worth saying that we have a really long history as an OHDSI community, and we're all really lucky to be standing on the shoulders of our titans and have the opportunity to have built from the OMOP experiment days all the way through the formation of our network studies and even the launch of our initiatives.
So, hello. Sorry to interrupt, Kristen. So so I don't know if it's just me, but there were some like robot-ish beeping, like randomly during when you speak. Is that just me?
Yeah, don't you have any problem with joining the cables?
Yeah, the microphone.
No, I don't have cable. Give me 1 second. How about now? Is this better?
Oh, yes.
Yes. Thank
Terribly
you.
upsetting because I just got an Ethernet jack for my computer, so it can have better connect. I don't have an Ethernet port on my machine, so I had to get a USB, but it looks like it doesn't work, which is really frustrating. Okay, let's try this again. I have no idea what you did or didn't hear, so it's a little bit tough to go backwards.
Basically, I think we heard most of it. It was just randomly like beeping for like half a second, and then it's
Really
fine. Yeah, thank you.
So, all right, let's keep going. There is a lightning talk that I've recorded, so some of this stuff I'll send you the link after. But it's probably worth saying that we have a lot of challenges that we obviously have to address as a community. We have many, many pertinent study topics these days, maybe now more than ever. And it's really, really difficult, right? We have a lot of questions around safety and efficacy, methods development, and there's just a complete need for us to continue to work together, which is exciting, right? We know this as a community, but it's kind of wild to see this in the news. And one thing that you may not be aware of is that where I sit in the world, we have invested as a university. So Northeastern University is an R1 research university. It's a big experiential learning based university, which means we do a lot of practical application. So we're really applied and not theoretical. And it's a great place to launch the first OHDSI Center. This is really meant to be a support to Columbia's coordinating center. and have the opportunity to provide additional resources, especially as it relates to having fellowships and funded programs and grants. And we'll talk about a couple of our tenets in just a moment, but there's going to be some real support around the methods development, and especially the educational outreach. And you might say, well, Kristen, I don't really know what these things are. They're all very new terms. And the term RU Institute is a brand that is within Northeastern, which is the university. RU is the name of a very successful businessman. His name is David Rue. He made a large donation to Northeastern to set up a life sciences and medicine, data visualization, engineering, and experiential AI center. And this is obviously use cases that we cover a lot in OHDSI. So we fit kind of well with this brand. And there's some really cool stuff that they're doing that may increase our use cases in OHDSI as well. So that's just a brand. It's just a name you'll hear a lot. It's kind of just a place that we sit operationally. As a team, you probably recognize some of these faces. In particular, you probably recognize Christian. We are a group of both Titans that you know, as well as some new researchers. And my day job as director is actually spanning between research and education. And if you don't know David Madigan is one of the original OMOP experiment PIs. He's a Bayesian statistician, and he's now the provost of Northeastern. And he's really the one who is leading this effort and putting investment into creating this research collaboration space. And he has tapped in folks like Andrew Williams, who is at Tufts, which is right down the street from us. Christian is going to be helping us around kind of our industry strategy. He's our executive director, just a small portion of his time. Then we have folks like Brianne, who if you collaborate on health equity research, you might see her already in that space in the community. And Justin Mangiarides is a newer face you probably don't know, but he is really leading the charge on advising some of our new PhD students. And you may see some of them like we have Victor Castro, who is working with the I2B2 ACT community. He just started. So lots of people, lots of faces, new and old. And it's really based off of this idea of 3 tenets. So we are here to provide the community with support around data and research. So the need to have reference architecture, to have expertise in study design or in the ETL data quality process, anything kind of around that knowledge trust that we have after many, many years of being a community. We want to help and create connections there. We are also very heavily invested in methods development. As you know, there are a lot of questions we have around the study designs that we use, and there's a lot more work we need to do. So we're going to be investing in funding projects and doing research to really build out new methods to help us with our empirical calibration and how we pick the right study designs. We're also going to be working a lot in the education space in partnership with groups like Eden and the education work group. But this is really intended to be a place to help credentialize the great work that happens in OHDSI, to give the weight of a university behind the tutorials or workshops that you participate in, so that you can really showcase your skills to both your fellow researchers and your employers. So what does it look like in practice? Well, first thing on the data and research support, we are standing up a function we call the OHDSI Lab. This is really, you can think of it as a virtual toolbox for those of us who don't have access to data or the OHDSI tooling. This will be a collaboration space that we will set up research arrangements with different groups. And the idea here is that we are actually going to have OMOP data in the lab. We're going to have the opportunity for folks to work with the tools, with the methods library, and to do research projects with that fully functioning toolkit. So we hear a lot from the community that people need help getting access to real data or real tooling. And we're hoping that by spinning up this type of collaboration space and having infrastructure that we can provision for different projects, that it will help make it easier for researchers to get going. We're also really interested in supporting study-a-thons. So it's funny, you just said it, because the The biggest thing that we just did was support the British Society of Hand Surgery in their study in a day, which was led by Jenny Lane. But we're really interested in helping get these efforts off the ground and make it easier for groups to run their own research. So that'll definitely be something you see us raise our hand and support more of, and making it easier for our collaborators to run these workshops, because we know that it's really cool to see it in action, right? And on the methods development front, there's a big plenary talk by David Madigan where he talks about the culmination of our journey to reliable evidence. And in that announcement, he talks about the reproducibility service. This is really a team of experts on demand to provide consults to work through that systematic process that they went through in the reproducibility workshop. And then in the plenary, they kind of break it into its pieces. This is really a team that we're going to be working a lot with and experimenting with, and we welcome others to join us. It's meant to kind of help really see how to take the insight of the reproducible research that we're running and to give it a global stage, and to connect it to regulators and other stakeholders who would benefit from these types of methods work. And lastly, on the education front, you'll probably hear a term that we call micro-credentials or badges. You might have seen it on the concept set tutorial. Badges are really these ideas of having the skills that you acquire be in a virtual format. So you will acquire badges as you complete different workshops or tutorials, and it'll be a nice way to showcase that you have certain competencies. And so these will be offered around different activities, but I'm sure that many of you, as we go through your OHDSI journey, will be able to claim many of these. And this is just our way of sort of showing the credentialing of the skills that we have as a community, the intricacies of our training, and to put the weight of a university behind it. We're also launching a master's program. This is under review right now with our university governance. But the idea of this program is to help educate people on real-world evidence as a discipline. There are very few training programs at the master's level in the US, and we look forward to building international collaborations on this front. We are definitely looking to partner with other institutions to share programs and content, to be able to have our faculty help your faculty. And we're really excited to engage with our industry partners. We have pharmaceutical partners in OHDSI who are obviously supporting research, but there's other stakeholders like health systems, interoperability groups, like our HL7 partners. Lots of people are interested in helping build this knowledge base out so that the terms we use and the coursework that is kind of inherent to our day-to-day becomes in a hardened format, or in a way that people in the next generation can use it and be trained. And we're really looking forward to helping build that out, since we know there are a lot of challenges in finding good talent and getting people into these roles. You will see a book of OHDSI 2.0 effort coming soon with the early stage research work group, the education work group. And of course, we definitely want to continue to update translations and make that available. That will be a community kind of interactive exercise. And we definitely are thinking of other ways to make smaller guides available. And of course, whenever it is safe to do so, we really want to host people at our institution. We have kind of a nice view of the water up in Maine. Of course, in the winter, it's not as fun, but we really want the opportunity to be a co-location space, to host face-to-face meetings and hackathons, to provide opportunities for residencies, which is, coming to work on research projects with us, and really finding ways to continue to foster collaboration. So that's all I had for slides, and I really wanted to leave time to chat. A lot of this is, we are looking for input and ideas too of things that are needs that we can help support and, bring teams to, since we are building out a large team to support this. And hopefully my slides and my voice kept up for that, because I don't know at this point.
It was great. the connection, everything was great.
Yeah.
So Chris, I do have a question. I'm gonna ask now. So for Book of Odyssey 2.0, so can we have some preview or kind of what's new? Is that shareable at this moment?
Yeah. So, I mean, we don't have an exact plan because actually right now we are out, and I say we, meaning I'm listening to different work groups. So a couple of our work groups have made proposals around things they want to see integrated in the next approach. And so I can credit the early stage research group, Fiza and Ross and Lana and team. They talked about how Odyssey has this idea that everyone's at the same skill level, and it would be nice if in future iterations of content, we might put, like beginner, intermediate, advanced, or put some type of staging around it so people have, just sort of a relative sense of like, oh my gosh, this is overwhelming. Is it okay to be overwhelmed? Or, oh gosh, this is so basic, I should know it. So those are little things I think that are awesome and really easy to implement. And I think in terms of content, there's a whole 2 years of content that we've built on since the last time we updated it. And so we definitely want to think of keeping the textbook as close to evergreen as possible. But one of the things we're thinking about is spinning out more there's the vignettes in the R libraries, which are nice, but there's probably somewhere in the middle of other kind of field guides or, tutorial kind of reading materials that may come out of this effort. And we definitely welcome, I know many of you have taught your teams and are working through different topic areas. We would love to share and understand questions that you constantly face. I think the Book of Odyssey is written in a way that there's a lot of assumptions that are still made, even though the funny part is it was written with this idea of write down all the things that everyone assumes you know. But there's still lots of gaps in it, right? Of really high level things, and they're kind of abstract. So that's going to be our mission, is really content mapping for a bit. And then we want to make it interactive. So I would love to use those Git boards like they did for the Hades and the CDM documentation-a-thon. They have little, it's kind of like Jira boards. You can share tasks. We can work asynchronously. I know across time zones, it can be tough, obviously, for us to all get on the phone. But we want to find a way to kind of make it a community push and maybe have a couple of sprints of work around that and ask for, if people want to write, definitely give out articles, kind of like Claire did. So yeah, not a full answer, Jing. I know it's kind of a half answer. Sorry.
No, I'm like, when I hear 2.0, I was like, what is in the 2.0? Definitely looking forward to that. Cool. Any other questions from the audience?
Yeah, hi. Yeah, I have another question. So Kristen mentioned about the master's program, which I think is still in review. So is it going to be online masters or?
Yeah, fingers crossed. So I have to put a disclaimer since this is recorded. It is still going through university governance. It is under the scrutiny of our board of trustees, and you guys know governance is, but I say that just because if this gets separated from me, I'm telling you the disclaimer. Yes, the intent is to have asynchronous modules to make it accessible to the global community. We are contemplating, if we get enough interest in different regions, hosting it, having some topical discussions around those time zones as it makes sense. But we do want it to be as kind of, accessible as possible to our global audience, because we know these materials could be quite useful to your teams. You are probably trying to do similar things. And so the master's is the biggest unit. It's obviously a huge thing, but think of it as, imagine if we took all the tutorials from all the years, which I did. I made a huge spreadsheet of every tutorial we ever offered in every iteration. And we've been thinking about how do we package that content in a reusable way? Paul Nagy at Hopkins has been doing some of this in his Coursera work, and Eden has some great work that we're going to continue to support. But we want to make it really on demand. And then we want the badges to be kind of the thing you get once you do the on-demand exercise. So, you could get your ETL badge, you could get your data quality badge. We want it to be fair, like, so that you know what you like at the end of it, like, oh, I have all these cool things I can tell people. And then for teams, if you guys are working on stuff, you know, it's sometimes hard to know at different people's skill levels. So having that to be kind of like a currency to make it easier to collaborate. And especially for study design, we're hoping it can help make it easier to, so that when you're in your own workshops, you have like the Martine in a box, you know, like all the input of how do I read the R Shiny app. I mean, some of the diagnostics, I'm sure, Chan, you know this, that I always find my eyes crossing when I look at them. There's so many things. So that's what that kind of content is really taking the knowledge and making it in bite-sized chunks. And I'd love to know from you guys, like, you know, as you're using materials from the community, if there are things you're like, wow, it'd be so great if someone could explain whatever it is. Like, everybody has a wish list, and I'd love to know what yours are.
I do, because when you mentioned, like, you know, if you can, because I'm sure the master program will be great, you know, once it goes through and finger crossed and everything. But I think I'm gonna ask the question is that a lot of I think there will definitely be a lot of interest kind of with the program, but then on the other side, that will definitely take people's kind of longer commitment or longer time. And what if, you know, someone or people, I'm thinking about myself or, you know, some others I know that maybe they don't have that much of a time, though maybe they'll pick only like the ETL portion of it or like the data portion of it. So that fall into kind of the ETL badge or ETL certificate
Exactly.
for certificate, or kind of more of like a partial master program, but like a mini program.
Yeah. So that's exactly what the badges are trying to be, like these little, the tiniest bite of like it's almost like a snack, right? An Odyssey snack of like, I'm going to have just a bite of this thing, and you can build them. So you can stack them. This the language people use. So like, basically, and I visualize them like the you know, the hex stickers you get for R, and everyone has a million of them on their laptops. That's kind of mentally how I think of these. But it's really meant to be, think of like the badges that we'll have will be quick, kind of like Eden Academy, maybe a little bit longer than Eden in that there may be like an assessment piece or some, you know, thing to kind of proof of completion. Eden has that in a lot of them, but some of them, they're more didactic. So they may be more interactive. And then the other piece I didn't mention is we're also looking to work with teams to understand projects that are just kind of like, oh, it would be so nice if someone did this. And then our experiential piece is letting our learners, like the students we enroll, tackle those. And so we actually have, for like parts of our student base, they could do that work. So Andrew Williams is actually working on what he calls this work package repo. It's like a long list of things that people want to do but don't have time to do, and he's going work group to work group. It's kind of like a bunch of things that we can then bite off into little 6-week projects and give to students and things. So if you guys have topics that you're tackling, and, you know, it could be as simple as, I would love to know, you know, in this vocabulary, the coverage of terms in a therapeutic area or something. You know, it could be simple things, it could be really complicated things. But yeah, the idea is really intended to be, we'll have things at a tiny level, we'll have things that build into bigger things. And then if you're looking for really specific competency, like you're trying to become an expert in a certain area, we want to make it really easy to connect teams and create research collaborations. Because I know in Odyssey, it's kind of like you call up Chan, and you know Chan knows how to get you an Odyssey study, just like I can make an Odyssey study. But we want to make it, you know, a little bit easier for not just like those of us in the circle, but those of us outside to see who are all these connection points. So long answer, but yeah, it's definitely meant to be. I don't think of it as the masters is like the long thing. The short things are where we think we're going to have more cool like traction, I think.
So yeah, I'd like to ask a question about the Rural Institution of Northeastern University, since it is the Odyssey Center. So I just wondered why it is Odyssey Center. Like, you know, Columbia University is a coordinating center of Odyssey, and we do have Odyssey.org. And why it is Odyssey Center? That's the first question of mine, and second. So OHDSI AP will have a symposium in this year, and I think we will ask each chapters about their own study questions, and I think we'll vote for the OHDSI APAC network study for the next year, and then I wonder that Rural Institute or OHDSI Center can help OHDSI AP to run our network study across the global sites.
Yeah. So I'll start with the first question. So the OHDSI Center, it's basically, think of us as like a hub and a spoke. So George is the hub, or Columbia is the center, and they will always be the coordinating capacity. But we know that George's team has so much weight on them for so much. As we scale, we have to think of how do we add more just things next to it. So chapters do a really nice job of that. Our grant system, Eden has done a very nice job of having some support. So the OHDSI Center is really just like in our constructs of like how Northeastern organizes. We set up centers dedicated to certain, topic areas. So this is our investment in making sure OHDSI continues to grow. So we're putting in our own research money. We're soliciting and getting, I've applied to dozens of grants at this point, and I'm really, and that's the thing you can think of. We're trying to help with the administrative piece of all of the ways we keep our lights on. So how do we get access to data? How do we get servers to keep running? And George's team does a fantastic job doing that, but we know that the need is really great across the community, and there's probably more demand than they can do. So we're just kind of here to help add extra hands. And then we're kind of like, because David Madigan is David Madigan, and he's an amazing statistician, he has research areas he really wants to see grow and expand. So you can think of us as like, kind of like we have our own special topics, but we would love to stand up other OHDSI centers around the world, like help other institutions if they have an interest, you have the right pieces, give you our playbook and say, here's what we're doing. Like the idea would be, we have quite a few, you have the coordinating center, and then you have all the friends around the network, and it helps disperse the load of all the things that are hard to do, like free symposiums are hard to do, right? I know you guys know that it's hard. And also just share, where, like you said, like network study stuff, sometimes it's very easy for all of us, the right people in the room, we can do it very quickly, but without them, sometimes it's harder. So make that a little easier. So yeah, we want to just kind of build, I gave a talk on the US community call where I joked that we were kind of here to help lift up the people who are already lifting us up. But it's true. Like, I think the success of scale is we have to create, pods in multiple spaces and time so that, no one group feels the load at all the time. Right. But yeah, and I'd love to have our stuff translated in like a million languages. It'd be so awesome. And I'm excited to, see the ETL. I was really excited. I got the job for the book. They sent these books out. Everyone's like, you'll get them or you can get one. I had the task of asking people what their data, like what data was in OMOP. And so some of you I know responded to me. And it was really fun to see how many new data sets came online, especially in APAC. There are so many partners. So that is all the great work you guys are doing. And I think it's so cool to see that come up. And there's so much more stuff we could do, right?
Cool. Thank you, Kristen. Yeah, about the book, I know I'm not sure if everyone has got the physical copy of it. I'm in China, and I have written down I filled the form of the surprise and my address and everything. But so far, I haven't received anything. I'm sure the customs are even slower after the pandemic and everything. So I don't know, Chen, or anyone on the phone, have you guys got it, like the physical copy? Is that just me?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Yeah. And I see that Jessica raising her hands.
Oh yes, we do have. Yeah, so Jessica, please ask.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, so the question, yes, I have two questions and from Christy, and also I enjoyed the symposium so much, and even though I'm in Australia and also it's 2 a.m., I stayed at 2 or 3 sessions until the end. It was really inspiring and also very wonderful. So myself and also is passionate on working the research on the OMOP because I'm myself is a senior epidemiologist. So although I don't know much about the data developer, like a data engineer, that part is very, I have no knowledge on that part, but we started to form a team on that. So my question for you, you mentioned about the training as well as the collaboration. So where we should start, like if there is any website or, we just write a message or chat message to you directly or through the Asian Pacific, or I'm just wondering if there is any like a EOI forms. I just don't know where to start because we were going to hopefully we will have a pilot clinical data by the end of this year or early next year, and also then we will have across the state probably in on more than 60 hospitals. So we hopefully and that will become a very interesting and also important project. However, we definitely need some hands-on or some trainings or support.
Absolutely. Well, we are here for you when you're ready. We have a website that's like for our team at Northeastern. So that's just odyssey.northeastern.edu. You are welcome to chat me in the OHDSI teams. I have an account, Casca@odyssey.org. You might see Christian around. Christian does a lot of work with us too. And any way you guys want to get in touch, I am happy to. I know Jing, you and I connect, and Chan, you and I connect, and others. Feel free to ping us. And then of course the forums are great too. I check there quite a bit. I'd say, all roads lead to Rome, kind of. I mean, there are many paths, and sometimes I lurk in Gathertown, and you can find me there. But yeah, we are here, and I think the thing is really just to ask the question. So when you're looking for trainings, if you reach out and say we're looking for this topic, I can tell you what I know. I get emails all the time from people running projects saying, I'm working on this. Do you know anybody who's doing that in that area? So happy to answer those kinds of questions too. And of course, happy to always talk to folks and show up. It's late, but I don't mind staying up for you guys. I think it's exciting, and especially with all the cool data elements that you might see in your data that we don't always see in other databases. Some of the EHR feeds you have are so rich. So by all means, if you have questions during your mapping, or even just like clinically, like you're trying to build a cohort and you don't know where to start, you have some really good secret weapons. Like Chan is like one of the best study designers ever, but so you got good local support, but we're happy to share my cheat sheet of what I have. And some of these OHDSI websites, I'm sure you guys know, it can be a lot to find the right thing you're looking for, and sometimes it's just easier to like call or text somebody.
Yeah, definitely, Christine. Thank you so much, and also for the community support. I'm sure that we will get back to you or ask questions of just a simple, like sometimes just the sample mapping questions, and we probably had, because we have the longitudinal cohort study. It's not the OHDSI cohort, but it is the cohort study for we are working on. But at the same time, we also will link the hospital data. So the cohort data as well as the clinical data. So we hopefully we'll have a lot of questions and like mapping, during the mapping, where to put, and also how later on, and we will be best, a better position and then to link to the hospital data. And also like there are some already not mapped in OHDSI, but then how we will best put like when we doing the mapping. So I think there will be a lot of questions from us, and it will be great, and have this channel, and we can reach out to get the support as well as the training when we're going on.
Yeah, we want to hear the questions. So, the joke is if you ask Christian, he'll tell you no, but the real thing is like the CDM work group, the vocab work group, we want to know where people are having, I have a data element. It doesn't fit perfectly into the model, because we have lots of ideas now of ways to make it work, but it's also important we say, well, how do you want to use it analytically? But I loved that those types of things. I mean, I'll double down on it. It's really important that we know what they are, because it expands our own understanding of what we can do as a network. And there may be people at different parts of the community that have different approaches that you can take advantage of. And we can definitely make that easy for you. Well, I shouldn't say it's easy, but it will be less hard than if you did it alone.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much. And that would be great, because I know it's not easy, but I think there will be a light, or, we know that there is a support there and for us. Yeah, so that's already great. Thank you.
Sorry, I was talking muted. Thank you so much, Jessica. I was like, yeah, thank you. So do we have any other questions from the audience?
Yeah, I have one more question. Regarding the OHDSI lab, right? I'm just going to share the problem that we face currently, and you can let me know whether through OHDSI lab we can solve that. So currently, I watch all the tutorials which is available online, and I also read some latest papers on legend framework and things like that. But currently, I'm not able to try it on our data set because our data set does not support such studies, and our data set size is also small. But then I'm really interested to try out those legend studies to practice and use those skills later on when we have more data sources from our region. So through OHDSI Lab, will I get a chance to try those studies if you're going to provide access to any of the data sets?
Yeah, so exactly the right use case, actually. So what we would do is set up like a research agreement with you and get you provisioned into, there will be more than one OMOP database in the lab. So we'll have a couple of commercial claims databases from US vendors. There'll be at least one electronic health record data set. All of them are de-identified, and they will have most of the data elements you expect, and they'll be quite large. There'll be at least one asset that's really, really big that would be good for certain types of studies that may need lots of patients at risk. So yeah, we would. The whole point of the lab is it's like a little bit like an OHDSI vending machine. You kind of put in the tokens. We do the paperwork. It comes out the other side. Now there is a bit of like housekeeping where you'll get a certain amount of compute that we'll give you for free, and then it's kind of like, the piggy bank ran out. Do we have a grant, or do you have funding? Like we would talk, but I mean, it's definitely meant to be a starter kit. We have investment, and depending on the different research questions, we may have grants that cover more than others, but it's absolutely meant to be a place where if you're a researcher, you want to touch real data, you want to do work and understand the methods, we want to give you a space that we can onboard you to and make that accessible. And so it used to be, this is like a thing they actually had in the OMOP experiment days. They had a real OMOP lab, actually had real servers that they had data on. It moved to the cloud about a couple years in. But this was something that used to exist when the experiment was going. So we've been thinking a lot about, it's so crucial. Like those initial experiments couldn't have happened without it, right? So definitely, basically it'll be kind of like, we'll just kind of have data use request forms, and then we get you into our system. And so I'll be honest, I haven't set up our users yet. We're doing the user testing of the infrastructure right now. So I'd say like, it's like end of this year, early next year is when we intend to kind of go live and start to offer seats to folks who want to collaborate with us. But you can anticipate, you know, we're going to try to be as broad as possible. I'm trying to get as much funding as I can from my benefactors to try to make it accessible to, you know, everyone at different levels. So you don't have to have, you know, you don't have to come with a ton of means. We were trying to make it open to everyone. And yeah, I mean, we definitely are excited. We're going to cross our fingers and toes that all of the tech pans out, but it should feel very natural. We're going to try to use databases and technologies that are kind of very common in our tech stack. So you're working in kind of a fluency that you'll feel like you could apply in your own environments. And there's some groups, obviously, that are doing really cool far edge, like tech stuff. Maybe someday we'll have spots in the lab that support them too. So yeah, and if you're a developer and you're not necessarily a study designer, there may be space for you there too to help, you know, if you want to work on the tool stack. So definitely different types of personas, you're welcome.
Okay, yeah, good to know. Yeah, so basically I'm a data guy, right? But I don't have the clinical expertise. So by availing OHDSI Lab, what I would like to do is develop my clinical methods knowledge by practicing those legend studies. So the outcome of it may or may not really be a paper or a publication that I'm hoping for, but
Yep.
Gaining the knowledge is what I'm aiming
That's
for.
perfect. Yeah,
okay.
Our idea for success is, I mean, papers are great, but we really want people to have skills and to have experiences. We want to be able to give people opportunity to engage in kind of just the cycle of learning the different parts of our tools. There's a lot that we do in a single study that we gloss over and make it seem really easy, but there's so much in there. So would love to work with you all on that. Would love to work with you, Selva. And definitely what would be cool too, we're excited, is if we run it in the lab, we can obviously send things around the network because we'll be testing, you know, does it work? So it's bi-directional. If we test in the lab, we also might post them out to the community.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, so might be beginning of next year. I will be the first person to join.
I'll not put sure. You at the top of the list, and a whole chapter gets the top of the list. Everyone will get preferential.
Okay.
But yeah, we're excited. Well, I'm excited to collaborate with you all. I am really looking forward to your symposium in 8 weeks, right? No pressure. No pressure.
Only 8
I can see Chan sweating from here.
It's only less than 2 months from today.
Fine. Don't worry about it. But we're delighted. You guys, it's great work you're doing. I'm so excited to see this group continue to evolve. It's just fantastic.
Thank you so much, Kristen. And I know it's quite later time. Again, sorry for having you guys stay up a bit late today. Yeah, thank you. So I just be aware of the time. So Kristen, any other final comments? I know we have 4 minutes.
I just want to say thank you again for inviting me, and thank you all for all your hard work. I know that each of you have gone through your own OHDSI journeys, and it's not easy, and there's a lot to learn, but I'm so proud of what I saw in the symposium last week. And I know there's more hiding under the surface because there's always secrets you wait for the big symposium reveal. So I look forward to supporting you guys, and definitely, you know, give me a ping on Teams. I, for some reason, can't see the chat in this one. I think my Teams is just being really finicky. But if you guys need anything, feel free to ping me and email me on the OHDSI box. And yeah, and then I think this is right. This is the right hearts. Like I'm trying to.
Yeah.
Instead of, well, I guess I could do this too, but I'm gonna go for my hearts. But yeah, you guys are awesome. So thank you so much.
All right, cool. Thank you, Kristen. And so that will be kind of all we have for today. Thanks again for joining the call. Have a good day. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.